Hi, and welcome to the Skincarma Pod. I'm Carmine, the creator and voice of the Skincarma blog. With more than 25 years in beauty as a brand builder, copywriter, and skincare junkie, I'm putting my product wisdom and expertise to work demystifying skincare. Today on the Skincarma Pod, I'm excited to welcome clean beauty trailblazer Indy Lee. While I've been a fan of her eponymous skincare brand for years, I only had the honor of meeting Indy for the first time just 2 weeks ago. I was moderating a panel of 4 brand founders in an industry symposium, Cadre Clean Beauty, in Lower Manhattan. Indy was a keynote speaker on the panel, closing out the 2-day event with about 100 industry leaders in attendance. In front of that room of beauty executives, CEOs, COOs, GMs, and brand founders, it wasn't lost on me that Indy, a clean beauty trailblazer and brain tumor survivor, was perhaps the most powerful and inspiring person in the room. She founded her namesake skincare brand in 2009, a year after being diagnosed with a life-threatening brain tumor. She set out to empower others to take control of their health through conscious, toxin-free, plant-based products. Her personal journey, marked by 3 life-saving brain surgeries to date, continues to fuel her advocacy for wellness, longevity, and the transformative power of living clean. I'm so honored she said yes to joining me on the podcast. In fact, she didn't even hesitate. She knows the power of her story to inspire others to find their path through adversity. Trust me, she's going to inspire you. Let's talk to Indy. Indy, hi.
Hello. So excited. So excited. Like you said, you're like, you want to be, yes, you didn't even finish the sentence. I'm like, sign me up.
I was like, oh my God, that was so easy. I was so like, oh wow, this is great. We had such a good time at the Cadre event, right? It was like,
It's amazing. It really was a
yeah,
beautiful event. And I will tell you, I left so inspired
yeah.
by everybody. I mean, I had volumes of notes on my phone just from sitting in and listening to these other founders and other wisdom that was brought by experts. It was really an incredibly powerful event, I found.
Yeah, it was, and I can only imagine from a founder perspective. I mean, how often do you get to sit with other founders and understand like their viewpoint is similar to yours, unlike what you experience, with other people you run into in the course of your
Absolutely.
day. So I think that was probably the most valuable piece of it. I was
I
I was really inspired by it, that's for sure. So
Yeah.
I want to start where you began. Like, tell me about you. Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island.
Oh my
I
God.
just worked really hard to get rid of the accent.
You
And
really did.
if I'm really tired, it will come out.
Like, what's this area under my hat called?
your your forehead. And I drink coffee and eat oranges.
I couldn't say coffee. I couldn't
Coffee.
do it. I have one of my best friends is from Long Island. She's always mocking my Connecticut accent.
Oh my gosh. You know, the word I can't say is drawer.
Drawer.
It's in your drawer.
It's a draw.
She knew what I want to do. So I'm like, oh, forget it.
Okay, so you grew up in Long Island, and
Mhm.
I grew up in Connecticut till I was 17, and then I got out. I don't know if you imagine yourself getting out, but that was
I
me.
did.
I couldn't wait to get out of there. And then what did you do?
So I grew up on the island on the North
Hmm.
Shore right
Okay.
near the Stony Brook area. So I honestly had the most perfect childhood. I really did. I will admit that fully.
Hmm.
But I was eager to explore more, and I went to school up north in like near Syracuse in SUNY Oswego.
Oh wow.
And then, I did the whole accounting thing. I worked for Ernst & Young on Long Island, and then I said I really wanted something a little sexier, and I really wanted to get off of the island.
Yeah.
And I wound up in Manhattan working for HBO. So I managed their international finance division. It was
Yay.
amazing. And that's really where I got to the love of travel. I traveled all over the world with them, which was phenomenal. Phenomenal. But then I realized I don't like accounting. So
Does
small
anybody
little
like
problem.
accounting who does accounting?
Yeah. It's like You know what? I love the international side of it, which
Yeah.
is incredible
Yeah.
because I did find it very interesting. But then I went to domestic after I had my children and I couldn't really travel. And I just was like, this is not for me. I wanted something. I wanted some creativity. I wanted to feel like I was helping others. And I left. I got very involved with like career coaching and development. And
Oh,
then, yeah, and then a friend of mine was building school gardens. Now, I have green toes, fingers, nose.
mm,
Like, I love my happy place is either at the ocean or like hands in the dirt.
yeah.
And I was like, well, that's what I want to do. I want to help you I know the importance of what you're putting in your body. Let
Yeah.
me help you. Let me run your nursery. And they're like, we don't have a nursery. I'm like,
Mm,
let me build you one. So I built a very large greenhouse in my backyard and I was getting very involved with the school, school gardens, urban gardens, farm to table, slow food movement. And then in 2008, I I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and I couldn't work in the greenhouse or the farm in the back of our house that I put into production. And I was really bringing like edible flowers to Whole Foods and, starter plants to schools and, microgreens to restaurants. But I couldn't do it anymore. I could not be in the greenhouse and I couldn't even unfurl my hands. It was
oh
so
my
much.
God.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm an A-type personality. I need to be busy. Like
Yeah.
an idle indie is not a good indie.
Yeah.
And my sister says she's pregnant. So I decided, oh my gosh, I have all this calendula. And I had 12 different varieties of lavender under production. So I started to make my sister some products. And because I didn't want anything potentially harmful in my newborn nephew's tushy.
Hmm.
And I knew that the beauty industry was largely unregulated, but I
Mm,
didn't really think of it in terms of my health, which is so fascinating because I was reading all of that. Like it didn't hit me.
yeah.
And so I was like, well, I didn't want anything on my nephew. So I made products and everyone's like, Andy, you need to create a line for babies. As I said in the event we were at, 2008, clean beauty wasn't on the scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not even an industry. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Didn't think about it. And then about a month later, I started to lose my vision and went to the doctor on November 4th in 2008 and got an MRI. And 15 minutes after I walked out of 45 minutes after I walked out of the machine, I got that phone call that said, you need to come in. And I said, tell me what I have. And he's like, I'd rather tell you in person.
Oh
And
my
that's when I
God.
was like, okay, tell me before I get in the car or Google. And he said, you have a brain tumor. And I said, I'll see you in 15 minutes. And as I tell everybody, it was the most powerful day of my life. It changed everything. I realized, as I say often, I was a passenger in my life. I was a check the boxer. I was, what does everybody think I'm supposed to accomplish in my life? Never really thought about myself.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized I was done being that passenger and I was going to drive for whatever time I had left. And I was going to live every day with purpose, every day with passion, and truly be present in motions. Because I don't know if you feel this, Carmine. You go out into the world and you go about your day and like you kind of like look up and you're like, oh, how did I get to this place? Like, I don't even know how I drove here. I wasn't even conscious, like
Yeah.
thinking about it. Or where did my day go? I don't want to do that. I want to enjoy every moment. Every moment's a gift, even the bad days, because you can learn from them and then
Yeah.
apply it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I haven't changed my outlook and how I approach every day. I was unfortunately told I only had 6 months to live.
Oh wow.
And when you're given that kind of diagnosis, you decide how you're going to live the rest of your life. And I did what most people like that would do. You sell all your jewelry, you enter your 401k, and you say, I'm going to start a skincare line because that's what people do. No, so what happened was I was told there was nothing they can do. I went to all different doctors, NIH, John Hopkins, Sloan Kettering, and they were like, it's not cancer, but we just don't think we're going to be able to do anything. And when I went to my neuroendocrinologist, that's when he said, we think this is tied to the environment. I pointed out I eat clean and he asked me that life-changing question, what do I put on my skin? What did my mother put on her skin when she was pregnant? And that was the Oprah Winfrey aha moment awakening. And I left the doctor's office and sold all my jewelry and started a skincare line. And I said, I'm going to create change, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to find a doctor who's going to do surgery. And so for 6 months, I dove deep while I was finding a doctor who didn't give me different, outlook. And I
Yeah.
did. And so I
Yeah.
had surgery on Earth Day in 2009 and turned on the website 2 months later.
Oh my God. So you were working on it while you were recovering.
Yeah, I was working on it while I was trying to find a doctor. So I had, I would say, 4 products finished before I even went under the knife.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, well, who did you talk to? But when you are given that kind of diagnosis, you get very, very granular and very specific with how you're spending your time.
Yeah.
And I was with my children whenever they were home from school, and my husband. But when they weren't home, I wasn't going to let myself go into that woe is me, doom and gloom. I was going to use it productively and did all this research and started formulating and concocting and doing all those things while I was looking for a doctor who would say, no, I got your back. We can do surgery. I
Right.
found one and woke up to the rest of my life on Earth Day in 2009.
Isn't that wild that you had to fight to find someone who would treat you?
I had to fight to allow the insurance company to give me the surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there. I think I shared with you that I'm a chronic migrainer,
Mm-hmm.
and the pain they made me go through before they would give me the treatments that actually ended up helping me was insane.
Yeah, yeah. And we're
Prove
seeing
your
that.
pain. It's like prove your pain. Prove your pain.
Well, 100%. Or, prove that you're not going to cost us too much money,
Yeah.
which was the deal with me,
Yeah.
that I was just too expensive. And it was a wake-up call about how I live my life, and the things I put in and on my body, and energetically how I feel,
Yeah.
and really changing over to a cleaner environment. I mean, I told you, we just built this beautiful home, and it's all for my healing. And we're very mindful about the floors and the wax that we coat the floors with,
Mm.
and putting that you know sauna in our my poor husband did not really get the closet that he thought he was getting, because I kind of
Right.
turned it into the sauna room. No
he got
regrets there, but
he got the greenhouse.
yeah, exactly. So
Right? Oh my God. So you mentioned that in 2008, I was in-house at L'Oreal working on Kiehl's in 2008. There was no mention of clean
no,
beauty whatsoever. I mean, honestly, we weren't even talking about skin health.
I
Forget
know.
clean beauty. Like, nobody talked about skin health back
Isn't that
then.
incredible? Isn't that
Yes.
just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
remarkable that there's this entire industry called skincare,
Mhm.
but it wasn't about the care of your actual organ.
No, it was about storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you know this, but I got my start in beauty on the sales floor out in Los Angeles
Did not.
in like cosmetic departments. And, I got into it by accident. I didn't want to be in beauty cosmetics, that it was referred to at the time. And it just kind of happened, and I kind of fell in love with it. But, I was on a client call earlier today, and, was sharing about my background. And I said, God, thinking back to the way products were marketed and the products that we sold, nobody talked about your skin's health at
No.
all. It was just all like magic, right? Like pixie dust, this
Yes.
story, French beauty, and
Oh,
and
I'll
it
go
was
on
this.
into it just so you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was a lotions and potions junkie.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine my reaction when I found out the lack of regulation, and that
Yeah.
this wasn't really about skin health. Or when you would go for a treatment and get a facial, and meanwhile they're doing all this, and the products had a lot of questionable ingredients. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
how is this
Yeah.
wellness treatment well?
Yeah. I love sometimes when I'm laying there and I'm like, wait a minute, did you just spray fragrance on my face? Right. Like,
Yes,
what did I just smell lavender? Like, what
yes,
is happening right now? Yeah,
yes.
I've had that experience. So, clean beauty has become a movement now, right? Like now it's like legitimate, and it's kind of the driving force in beauty, and everybody's kind of gotten in line with it. Like, what's it like being one of the earliest voices calling for that kind of transparency?
You know, I'm incredibly Proud.
Mm,
I'm incredibly proud. Now, I will tell you, it took me a long time to be able to say that. Because
yeah,
people would say that, I'm like, oh no. But now I'm like, wait, yes, I was part of that. And
yeah.
I am still. And I am so proud. And people like, are you jealous that other brands are coming out of the woodwork? I'm like, here's the deal. You cannot effectuate real change
Hmm.
until there is that massive shift.
Yeah.
And so it was a call to arms. We need those brands. We need people to think outside the box and continually push this forward. So I never looked at it as competition. I always looked at it
Mm,
as, creating that movement that will then be the norm.
yeah.
And so I'm a dear friend of Tara Foley, who started Folane, right,
Hmm.
which was one of
Yeah.
the first clean beauty stores. And I love what she would say, I won't stop until all beauty is clean. And that's kind of how I feel is there's a place for everybody. There's a brand for everyone.
Hmm.
And my job is not to look necessarily at all the competition,
Yeah.
is to continually raise the bar for myself. And
Hmm.
how do we do it for the brand and reinvent ourselves? So that's kind of how I look about my role in this as a pioneer in this movement.
Yeah. Has the movement changed? Has the concept of clean beauty changed? Has that bar been raised?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think for some it has, and I think for others it's getting on a bandwagon.
Mm.
And you have to be so careful of greenwashing, which has been around
Oh,
forever.
for sure.
I mean, that's really what it was.
Yeah, when I worked at Kiehl's, we knew that consumers looked at the brand as natural when it was anything but.
I know.
Like, yeah.
I know. And it's hard because what I won't ever do is bash a brand. I might always talk about some questionable ingredients, but I don't believe in bashing a brand. That's not who I am as a person.
Mhm.
And there's a brand for everybody. What I like to think of my role is to educate and empower. I want everybody to know their own risks and make the
Mhm.
decision that's best for them. And that's my role. Like, I know the risks, I make the choice. But it's when people don't know that I just want to provide some information. I don't want to, fear monger or any of those things. And
Yeah.
what job is it mine to play judge and jury of what people are doing with their own bodies and end
Yeah.
up going home? But I just want to provide some options and
Mhm.
education.
So, without fear mongering, can we talk about some questionable ingredients?
Let's do it.
I mean, I have a whole bank of them in the back of my mind. Like,
Phthalates.
should I be? Yeah. Boom. Let's start with phthalates.
Phthalates is probably the one that gets me the most because it's a hormone disruptor, right? So these are
Right.
endocrine disruptors.
Yeah.
So basically, but people think, well, I'm just putting a little bit on, but a small amount can have such a significant change. And what the reality is, all you need is that tiny, it's like, the equivalent of something that can have that kind of impact, a drop in a massive swimming pool. Just that little drop could have that effect.
Mm.
So when people say, well, I'm just using a little bit, that little bit can have a significant impact on your hormonal system and regulation, and can also have that impact on your children's children. So this is a transgenerational issue. And
Right.
people are like, what are you talking about? Well, if I am pregnant with a child, right, say a daughter,
Mhm.
and she's forming the eggs for her potential future children, what I am putting on my body, which then can go to her, which will then impact her children, which is mind blowing
Yeah.
that we now know this science. So this is epigenetic. This is not just something where you're like, oh, it's just the scent and it might have an impact. No, 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 no. We are actually changing our endocrine system and disrupting it. And I think about estrogen, and you think about how children are, hitting puberty so much younger. All these things, and we don't need to formulate with it.
Right. Yeah. It's
What we don't need,
unnecessary.
and we
Yeah.
don't need plasticizers.
Ugh.
It's like, come
Mhm.
on, do we really like? And people are like, well, how will I know when you see long wearing? Like, okay, so you have to reapply something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is it necessary?
Yeah.
No, it's not. And we have a way, but let's face it, you and I both know it comes down to profits.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, we live in a capitalist society, right?
Yeah.
And
So I'd say for
those are
me,
the
it's always
consequences.
it's hormone disruptors. It's
Are there other hormone disruptors?
I mean, we can go into PFAS, BHA, all these things that can really impact our health.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a rise. One of the highest rising is um, autoimmune diseases
Hmm.
and chronic illnesses. I am somebody who has 7 autoimmune issues, and we're seeing that 2/3 of all autoimmune issues are environmentally derived. They're not genetic.
Oh.
Now, let's also layer in that it's 80% or 75 to 80% women.
Hmm.
We could do the relational work. We already know the science of it.
Yeah.
But again, and once you turn those, you know this, once you start turning switches on like that and sensitivities, you can't turn them off.
No, it is impossible. It's like a runaway train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly what happened to me. I suddenly, it was hormone related. I hit andropause and my hormones went crazy, and then I had a hypersensitive trigeminal nerve, and everything like rattled it. I mean,
Wow.
and it was like I couldn't eat nuts, seeds, like that. I'm still terrified of avocado because if I cut an avocado and it starts to brown, that I don't remember is it tyramine?
The oxidation.
Yes. Oh my God. And so, yeah, I get it. And it's like I was terrified to eat. I was terrified to eat pizza because, pizza dough has yeast in it.
Yep.
And yeast was another trigger. But yeah, I get it. Like it's a runaway train. It is
Yeah. Yeah.
almost impossible to stop. But I kind of did it. I still have an intense soy allergy. Within an hour after eating anything with soy, I'll get a migraine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And they're
so
debilitating.
completely. Yeah, especially if they're daily, and they
Yeah.
were. They're not so much now.
Mm.
But so we've kind of waded into the non-skincare arena, like the idea of living clean and empowering people to live clean. How do you embrace that, and how do you espouse that through the brand?
I look at the gift that I was given in terms of
Yeah.
a platform.
Hmm.
And I've always believed that the brand is not just about skincare, it's about this education and empowerment, and to create the platform, and that the skincare products just underline that mission. And so for me, it is now taking this platform and sharing different information. So
Yeah.
a lot of it is, I'm on the board. I'm actually now the secretary of the Autoimmune Association. So sharing things that I know from that and the research, but also now finding ways to incorporate other things. So you'll start seeing a lot more education from me. I think you might know that my company was acquired
Hmm.
in July, and my new owners are just like, Indy, go for it. They were like, speak your truth, share your passion, share your knowledge, which is, they're like, we don't care if it's about skincare or if it's about water.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? They're like, yes. So they are really, really behind me writing. And it's so funny, before I got on the podcast, I was writing about hydration and the importance and really talking about those things. So I'm excited that we're having this conversation, because you're going to start seeing even more of this on our platforms, and certainly on my own personal platform. But the brand is constantly reposting and sharing and saying, use our blog as a venue for you to share the information, the knowledge that you have, which is incredible, which is
Yeah,
truly
I love
incredible.
your blog. It's so deep and
Thank you.
insightful. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
more of that to come, and thinking about, like, what are the benefits of an infrared sauna? Okay, how could you get some benefits if you can't afford? What are some alternatives? Because let's face it, the world is very expensive right now. Okay, let's take a look. Hey, I'm trying new detergents out. What are you guys using? And having those conversations, because it drives me nuts. You can use the cleanest of the clean on your skin, but then if you're washing your clothes in something that's laden with some of these endo disruptors, and you're sweating and you're absorbing and you're sleeping on sheets and all these things, you can't just look at it as a one and done. You really need to take a look at it holistically. But again, one thing at a time, one step at a time. It can't be all done at once. You'll drive yourself nuts.
Oh,
Believe
for
me, I
sure.
tried.
You've been there.
It doesn't work so well. It gets very expensive. It's like when I tell people, how do you go clean? How do I change my routine? I'm like, one product at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you're running out, that's when you do your research to find something that's cleaner.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you'll be
You've
clean.
transitioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to
Totally.
be so difficult or so expensive.
Yeah, for sure. I love that's the perfect strategy. You don't
Yeah.
have to put the brakes on the whole thing and like
Throw everything out. I mean, listen,
yeah.
I'm all about sustainability and stewardship of the earth. How sustainable is it if I tell you to trash everything you just bought?
Yeah, not at all.
No. And so that's what people, I'm sure my sales team is not happy when I say these things, but I do, like, if you think about, you should be going through your skincare every 6 months, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if you look at the POA, the PAO, and I always say it wrong, and you take a look at even your eye care, you should have it 3 months and stuff like that. You give yourself a year. We're talking most of your things can be clean in your house. I mean, I don't know about you, but I go through dish detergent pretty quickly,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I'm still trying to find a good dishwashing liquid that is clean. Not so easy to find.
Oh, we'll watch for the blog on that.
Yes, yes, that is one I've got to start doing some research on because, and it's so funny because people say, well, is your husband super clean? Nope.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow.
It's so interesting. We have like his and her soap. It's pretty funny. The shower is like his stuff and then clean.
But he likes things that foam.
Yeah, and it's so funny. He's very scent driven too. And I'm like,
Yes.
I was like, all right. You know what? When he started using isopropyl to use as a toner, I was like, I'm out. I can't. You know what?
It's
I tried
over.
replacing
Wow.
the man. God bless.
He
As I
came
always
up with
say,
that on his own? I
I, if I have oily skin, I'm like, you know that your body's going to try to to go into
Right.
production mode.
Right.
And he's like, you're an accountant. I'm like, you do know what I do for a living now.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah, for
stop it.
sure. Plus you have that amazing CoQ10 toner.
I
Hello,
know.
my babe. I love that product. I mean, really?
It's just, it amazes me. But you know what? I fight the fights worth fighting. I'm like, all right, you're going to look
Yeah.
like the crypt keeper and I'm going to be hot.
Let's talk about the community that you've
Yeah,
built. Like,
sure.
what's your secret for fostering trust, like, and real connection? And it's a very crowded space,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you maintain that connection with your consumer and keep them engaged?
I think you use the most important word, which is connection. And
Mm.
that means not just putting something out, but being an active participant in that community. So I am usually the person who's commenting on Instagram posts.
Oh, wow. Yourself.
Yeah, oftentimes you'll see XX Indie if I respond to something. Or
Mm.
I'll go over to my personal channel and I'll write it on there so they know it's really me. But it's by doing speaking events. It's by being invited to be, a guest on podcasts.
Yeah.
But it's by writing the blog, it's writing the email, but writing it from my heart and not having other people write it for me.
Mm.
It's about being out there in the world. And it's also by being truthful that I'm not perfect and I'm an 80-20 person and I make mistakes too. And, I think it's being transparent and honest about things too. I think that's also part of it. And then being available for your community. So when I get, watch about this, but I'm going to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
When someone says, "Can I talk to you?" I will send people my cell phone number, like in a
Mm.
DM, or fine, let's get on a Zoom. And I think people are always shocked when I do that, but I can't say that I want to create community and then not be an active participant in it. That's not a community.
Yeah. The same with leading a clean beauty movement, right? You talked about having competitors and,
Mhm.
it can't just be you. It
No,
has to be everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, people always think it's so interesting. So I just did a post the other day about, skin cancer awareness, and I share other brands. Like, why wouldn't I? I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's like such an incredible, like, it's important to go out and also buy those other brands because that's the only way they're going to stay on a shelf.
Yeah, for sure.
So
That's
I think that's part
awesome.
of it.
So you're
Yeah.
kind of a product junkie too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I
Right?
love it. I mean, it's so much. I mean, listen, I tend on the skincare side to use a lot of my own products, and I tend
Hmm.
not to use as many others. Um, but when it comes to freaking makeup, oh yeah, I am all over it. But I also love to see what other people are doing and raising them up and lifting them up. I mean, we had that incredible panel, and Smitha. I cannot wait to try her products. She is a powerhouse, and I absolutely fell in love with her. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to talk about her products.
Yeah. She really put her soul into those products.
You
And
can
I've
see it.
seen, I met Smith when we were working together at Strivectin. God, it had to be 10, at least 10 years ago. About
Wow.
10 years ago, yeah. And she was making products for everybody else and realized, and it made sense. She was making really high quality products. Why not make them for myself
Yeah.
and pour myself into these products? Her vitamin C is one of my favorite vitamin C's
I
ever.
cannot wait to try.
Yeah.
I
It's
am
really
so excited. And I think that's part of it is also buying from other founders.
mhm.
I'll straight up go to founders and say, "Hey, I'm going to try your product. Would you like me to buy it off of your site, or is there a retailer that you'd rather see the sales at?" And they always are like, "What?" Like, no,
You
I'll send
get
it. Like,
it.
no, no, no. I'm asking not to get free stuff. I just actually want to know where it's more important for you to see sales.
Yeah.
Get it? I know.
I love the idea of going back to a moment in time. Let's go back to the moment before your diagnosis. What
Mhm.
would you tell yourself about what you know now about your own resilience and your purpose?
Well, like I shared a thing at the event, I would
Hmm.
say that you are worthy. I led my life prior to this being very small. If somebody would say, describe you in a color, the color would have been beige.
Mm,
And by the way, I wouldn't be the only one saying it.
yeah.
Some might even say transparent. We didn't know she was in a room. I've spoken with people. I didn't realize how small I played and how afraid of my own voice I was until I was posting something on Facebook years ago, and somebody said, I think we went to high school together. And I said, we commuted, we carpooled. Like, what? Like, I was in the same car as you. And I was like, oh my God, Kimball, like, hmm. Now, granted, they did change my name. So that might be part of where you put them together.
Right.
But it was an aha moment that I really needed, that I don't need to play so small and I don't need to be so, I wouldn't want to say transparent, but I don't think people even knew I existed. And I
Hmm.
don't think I had found my purpose, to be honest, and that's probably why. But yeah, if anybody ever said that I'd be somebody carrying a microphone and speaking on stage or on a podcast talking, I would have laughed at them. I was afraid to order pizza on the phone.
Oh
I
my
swear.
God.
Someone said, "Can you order the pizza?" Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. I'm going to mess up. Like, I just didn't have any confidence in myself.
Right.
And now look
That's
at me.
now
Tell me
look at
more.
you. Right. That's incredible. Don't play small.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't think I was worthy of having a voice.
Well, thank you for finding your voice because
Thank you.
you've really, really made a difference,
Thank
and
you.
it's incredible. It's incredible the change that you've fostered.
Thank you.
So thank you for
Thank
that.
you. That means everything to me. Truly, I'll get emotional, but it does mean so much to me because I never thought that I would be in this place, and I still can't believe that I'm in this place. If I still get emotional every time I see my brand on a shelf. It
Oh,
never, and I hope it never gets old. I really do. I want always to have that same sense of, oh my goodness, when I see that, because that's what's going to keep me going and excited. If it gets, I don't want to get complacent.
yeah, yeah. You won't.
I hope not. I better not. Well, I have a deal with my body and it does remind me. I swore that I would never get complacent and that my second brain tumor wouldn't grow. And then I realized it wasn't that I got complacent. I just got really busy in the business of the business
Mm,
and forgot actually to speak my truth of what I wanted to do with this brand. And so lo and behold, found myself in surgery in June 7th and 9th. I can't even believe it's going to be a year soon. And I'm not going to fall back. First of all, I don't want to have surgery again. But second of
yeah.
all, it's okay. I'm starting to feel normal in this space, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense. I don't know the
Yeah.
right word, but I feel like, okay, it's okay to say you're proud of what you accomplished. You know, when I was, you never wanted to sound like you were full of it or any of those things. And what sometimes when you said you were proud, it meant that you just thought so much of yourself and you had an
Yeah.
inflated ego. And I'd never want that about me. I'd never want anyone to associate that with me. And so I would never take credit for being proud of my accomplishments. But now I'm at the place where I can say I'm really proud, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be complacent.
Yeah. And inspiring. Let me
Thank you.
just say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Indy. This was amazing. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you've done and continue to do and will continue to do.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao.
I told you she was inspiring. She's so cool. She has such incredible energy. Like I feed off of her energy anytime we interact. It's amazing. What a very, very cool woman. All right. Thank you for listening to the Skin Karma Pod. Find more insights, real talk, and reviews of my favorite skincare products on the Skin Karma blog at skinkarma.com. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review this episode. It helps me to reach more listeners. Ciao.